Welcome back and thanks for being with us here on Morning Live. Now, supporters of former President Jacob Zuma have described the decision to release him as a huge relief, saying that there was no need for the incarceration of the former president in the first place. Now, this after the Department of Correctional Services yesterday announced that the former president has been placed on medical parole due to ill health. The former president has been serving a 15-month jail sentence for contempt of court after ignoring a constitutional court directive to appear before the State Capture Commission. Political analyst Prince Mashele joins us now for his thoughts on this matter. Prince, good morning. Thanks for being with us once more here on Morning Live.
Good morning, Sakina, and good morning to viewers at home, and thanks for inviting me.
So let's start with your reaction to the announcement that the former president has been released on medical parole.
Well, I knew that was going to be released. I'll tell you what. The timing of his sickness was very suspicious. This is the man who falls sick just a few days before he was supposed to appear before a court of law to answer cases related to money laundering, corruption, and a whole range of other crimes. So he decided to fall sick in order for him not to appear before a court of law. That's number one. But he's going to stay in hospital. He's not going to go back to prison because he has undergone some operation. I don't think that there's any South African who's sane who believes that Zuma was seriously sick. Number three, he then goes to he's under correctional services, right? Who is the head of correctional services who eventually released him? Is Arthur Fraser. Who is Arthur Fraser? Arthur Fraser is Jacob Zuma's head of intelligence. He was the Director General of State Security under Zuma, appointed by Zuma. So in other words, the man appointed by Zuma to be the head of intelligence is the man who looked after him in prison and ultimately is the man who released Zuma. That is the picture. The last thing is this. We have seen this movie before. Shabir Sheikh, who was convicted for all manner of crimes, Jacob Zuma's friend, was released on medical parole. Is there anyone in South Africa who truly believes that Shabir Sheikh is about to die? If he's about to die, well, that's an interesting death because it has been coming, but it doesn't happen.
So quite a few things there. Firstly, Prince, if you talk about the fact that you don't believe that the former president is ill, what's to be made of that? Because there are checks and balances. You have a parole board, quite apart from Arthur Fraser as the National Commissioner of Correctional Services, who has to give the go-ahead for that. There is a board in place. There's also, of course, the medical personnel, the practitioners who would have done the assessments on the former president. What do you say about them and their integrity then?
And that's a very important question, by the way, because it talks to the art of statecraft, running a state. You know, I actually don't understand, and I'm always shocked, or beyond shocked, about President Cyril Ramaphosa's ignorance when it comes to statecraft. Zuma was a smart man when it comes to running the state. He knew how to populate the institutions of state with his supporters and people who do his bidding. So this man, the way he appointed people into critical positions, so the people who actually are still sitting on the parole board, people who are the commissioners of prisons, and everyone in the security cluster who is critical in the process that would facilitate the release of someone like Zuma, was appointed by Zuma. So tell me, if you were appointed by the former president to sit on some board somewhere, and now suddenly you have to make a decision about him, wouldn't you release him? You would. That's number one. Number two, we know that South Africa does have bogus doctors. From time to time, we get treated to stories of bogus doctors who have committed all manner of crimes. So it is not impossible in South Africa to hire a doctor to write a sick note and say you are sick. By the way, there are parts of South Africa I know where on Mondays, people will go to certain doctors to get sick notes so that they don't go to work. So this idea that you cannot find a corrupt doctor to write a piece of paper to say that you must be released from prison is bizarre given what we know.
But then again, and hence I asked, because in making that statement, what you are doing is impugning the integrity of the said medical professionals, of the said legal professionals who sit on the parole board, and of course of Arthur Fraser, the National Commissioner.
Well, the National Commissioner, Arthur Fraser, by the way, if you think I'm manufacturing stuff, go to the Zondo Commission and look at the evidence that was presented by officials of state security, the acting DG now, what he said about what state security did to loot money and to give money to the ANC under Jacob Zuma, right? Just go and look at that and tell me if I am impugning his integrity. The evidence is there. I didn't manufacture it. I'm telling you what people can see. So people who choose not to see is their business. That's number one. Number two, look, we are not idiots as citizens. We can see and we know that the state was captured under Jacob Zuma. There is a mountain of evidence that has been presented to state capture. By the way, even if there's no action taken against those who committed those crimes, at least as the public, we now know what happened because the evidence has been presented there. So I am not formulating opinions based on nothing. I am formulating opinions based on the evidence that has been presented. It's circulating in public. And I simply confident there. So if people don't believe me, it's their choice. I mean, it's like when you see reality, you can see that there's a cow in front of you and you choose to say you don't see it. That's your business.
So the evidence that you speak of that was presented before the Zondo Commission was, of course, disputed by Arthur Fraser. Arthur Fraser went on to open cases against people whom he said had basically misled the Commission. If you take the Mufamadi report, for example, there was talk about over 9 billion rand that, was spent wastefully. He said not 9 billion, more like 9 million that perhaps was not accounted for, etc., etc. So, in that instance, do you not think it is curious that the Zondo Commission did not call Arthur Fraser to give evidence?
It's very curious, but here are facts that will give you an idea of what I'm talking about. What did Ramaphosa do when he became president of South Africa? He removed Arthur Fraser from the intelligence. Why? Number two, Arthur Fraser is now in correctional services. There is his successor, who's an acting DG in state security, went to the commission and presented evidence, by the way, in his official capacity. So it's not someone who's outside, who's angry and is making allegations, someone who still sits there. Number three, President Ramaphosa appoints Sid Mufamadi to be his national advisor on state security. What does that tell you? It tells you that President Ramaphosa believes what Sid Mufamadi wrote in his report. And it is Sid Mufamadi who wrote all what you are saying about Arthur Fraser. So it's not only me who believes that Arthur Fraser is wrong. Even the president believes that Arthur Fraser is wrong, which is why he removed him from the national intelligence. He appointed a man who wrote a report that has negative things about him. So why would people accuse me? Accuse the president because he agrees with me.
So here's the thing. In stating what you just did, and this is the point for me. All of these allegations had been made. If you go to Jacques Pauw's book, The President's Keepers, massive allegations, again, made against Arthur Fraser. He's accused of running a parallel agency in the State Security Agency, as it were. And yet, the Zondo Commission wraps up without calling Arthur Fraser, in spite of all those people whom you mentioned, having been given an opportunity to bring forward the evidence and make the allegations against him that they did. Do you think that it was right for the commission to wrap up without putting him on the stand to give his evidence?
That you can ask Judge Zondo why he did not call him. Don't ask me.
But I'm asking your view. You've given your view, yeah, so I'm asking your view on that.
I have given you my view that I think Arthur Fraser is dodgy, and I have given you evidence why I make such an opinion.
So you don't care to hear his side of the story?
Well, I would have liked to hear his side of the story, and I don't understand why Judge Zondo did not invite him to testify. It's a mystery to me.
All I'm asking in that regard.
Yeah, you are right to ask, Sakina. By the way, I am with you on this one. I would have wanted Arthur Fraser to sit in front of the judge and tell us how he looted the billions, and tell us how he siphoned money into the pockets of the ANC and Jacob Zuma. I would have been happier if he did so. But for some reason, Judge Zondo did not invite him. Why he did not do so, I have absolutely no idea. I wish to know.
It's one of the things that I wish we'd be told at a later stage as well, given the gravity of the allegations against Arthur Fraser that were made at the commission. But speaking to his position now as National Commissioner of Correctional Services, was appointed, of course, by President Cyril Ramaphosa, not by Zuma, whom he has now presided over his release. And the president, even when all of those allegations were raised about the integrity of Arthur Fraser, given some of the things you've mentioned, the report by Sydney Mufamadi, the books that have been written, evidence that had been given by people within the State Security Agency, the president still went on to say that, he stands by the man, and he defended his appointment of Arthur Fraser as National Commissioner of Correctional Services.
Look, the president, that I've been on record, and this is my opinion, and I'm glad you're interested in my opinions, Sakin. The president is incompetent when it comes to running the state, period. Let me demonstrate to you. He thought something about the first man. He's a man of intelligence. He knows too much and too many things about many people. So he didn't want to throw this man out of the state. He wanted to keep him close within the state. That was the supposed logic on the part of the president. It was a terrible mistake to make him commissioner of prisons. You know, when you are a commissioner of prisons, by the way, you are a powerful man. If you are a man without integrity, you can even release prisoners at night to go and commit crime in the morning, they go back to cells. Let me tell you, this stuff happens, Sakina, people don't know. It happens in the world. He should never have made him commissioner of prisons. The best he should have done, maybe he should have made him DG of sports and recreational services, where he would be very far from state security. That's number one. Let me give you another piece of evidence to demonstrate that the president is incompetent. Who did he appoint as a political head to oversee state security in the presidency? A guy called Zizi Kodwa. Is there anyone in South Africa who thinks Zizi Kodwa knows anything about state security? I mean, if there's someone like that, please raise up your hand. You are a joke. Zizi Kodwa has done nothing in his life, in his entire life, before he was appointed Deputy Minister of State Security. That suggests that the man knows anything about state security. So I don't believe, by the way, that Zizi Kodwa is running anything about state security. But the president appointed him to take charge of state security. What does that tell you? It tells you that we have an incompetent president who does not understand statecraft. Simple and period.
And just finally, Prince, earlier this month, High Court Judge Piet Koen ordered that the state may grant a medical practitioner of its own choice the opportunity to examine former President Zuma in order to assess his ability to stand trial for corruption, and for that doctor to be a witness if necessary. That was what Judge Koen had ordered. So what happens to that order now? Does it fall away, considering that the former president has refused to be assessed by a state medical practitioner, and his own medical team, of course, recommended that he be granted medical parole? What happens to that order?
It's a very complicated matter, and it's legal. I wouldn't want really to get into details about legal matters. I'm a mere political scientist. But even from a logical point of view, remember, he did not appear before a court of law because the doctor said he was sick. So when he is released on medical parole, in other words, he is gravely ill, he is about, in very commas, to like a Shabir Sheikh about to die, because that's what we were told. It means that he is not capacitated to stand before a court of law. So he can sit in Kandla, enjoy a cup of coffee, and claim that he is gravely ill. So I don't know. I will see how it plays out, and lawyers can inform us on this one. But it appears to me that he now has a legitimate pretext to sit in Kandla and refuse to appear before a court. So it will be up to the state to make a complicated legal case to try and get a state-appointed medical doctor to go and assess him. And how that would play itself out, I have no idea. But it's now Zuma has complicated the business of the state. And all of this, by the way, it comes back to the competence of the state. And who is the head of state is our current president, President Cyril Ramaphosa.
And in terms of being equal before the law, as a parting shot for prisoners who have been ill, who've been applying for medical parole, and then we look at how speedily, for example, this case has been dealt with, in terms of that dictum that all are equal before the law, what should ordinary South Africans make of this? Or is there a perfect reason for this being dealt with in the manner in which it has?
Ordinary South Africans must go read a small book. It won't take you long. The title of it is Animal Farm, written by an author called George Orwell. It says, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. That's the answer.
Well, Prince Mashele, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for your analysis. And Prince Mashele talking to us there about former President Jacob Zuma being granted medical parole. And that, of course, is also our question of the day, asking you for your views on what you make of that. So at Morning Live SABC is where you can send your response. What are your views on former President Jacob Zuma being placed on medical parole? Right, with that, let's bring you news headlines at 7:30.